Yo, what's up, and welcome to episode 157 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and I'm joined as always by the one and only Woody V.
Hey Robbie, man, I love recording in the mornings, right? We hardly ever do that. It's always in the evening. Wake up fresh on a Sunday morning and get straight into it. So I'm excited. Looking forward to it.
Excited too. I don't think we've ever recorded on a Sunday. I think the reason for it, you're away for work next week, so we thought we'd just get a podcast out. And plus, I'm in a pretty good mood after last night's Wildcats.
I can imagine,
game.
man.
So,
I can imagine.
Yes, I'm looking forward to talk all about that. Well, before we get into it, just a quick reminder, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Let's get into it, Woods. Both got a couple of NBA jerseys today. My camera's looking a bit funny on screen for you? Or?
No.
No, okay.
Fine.
Still
Yeah,
something
yeah,
weird
all-
for me. All right, not
all
sure what's
good.
going on there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the early morning glitches here. But yeah, why don't you take us away with that nice District of Columbia jersey you got there
For
today?
sure.
What do you stand up rocking the number 8? Washington Wizards. Carrington. Do you call him
Yes.
Carlton or do you call him Bob or what do you do there?
Carlton Khalil Bob Carrington III from Baltimore, Maryland. 6'4". He went to high school in St. Francis in Baltimore before going to college in Pittsburgh, and he was drafted 14th overall in the first round of the NBA draft. This most up.
We've got a
this
special
most-
guest.
Special guest this most recent season by the Portland Trail Blazers before getting traded to the Washington Wizards. So yeah, he's shown some things in his rookie year, and it's been an impressive campaign for him.
And would you say someone that your dog Skittles is obviously a fan of? Are those
Skittles
little bugs
obviously
there?
loves Bob Carrington,
Nice.
right? I didn't
Is
even
that
choose
your
that.
only rookie jersey so far? I haven't bought myself one yet. I've been wanting to get a Resache one, but yeah.
No, I've got a Mobo as well, Jonathan Mobo.
Actually, and you've got a Steph Castle one
and,
too,
and I've
right?
got a Steph Castle,
Wow,
so
so
I've
you're
got
strong with your rookie game jerseys,
three
right?
rookies, yeah.
Right. Nice. The Skittles want to make an appearance. Is she all good there? Or?
No, she's all good, man. I'm sure
all
she'll
good.
calm down.
All right, nice.
But yeah, look, just while we're on that, how have you seen his rookie campaign?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been a little bit up and down, which is maybe what you expect from rookies. I think some of that depends on court time and opportunity as well, right? Not the easiest team to play with, I would have thought, when you're playing alongside guys like Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma prior to the trade and stuff like that. But he's definitely been good, hasn't he? He's put up some big games. I know he had one really big game against our Hawks, maybe late last year or something, which he really impressed. So no, he's been good. I think. What do you say? Pick 14.
Yeah, pick 14.
So that's looking like a pretty decent pick, isn't it? What people considered was a weak draft. And I think it's going to be one of those drafts that there'll be a couple of players that end up firing that we weren't sure of, whether it's someone like him or someone. Who knows, someone in the pick 20s or something like that. But I think there will be some guys that end up sort of, having decent careers, but we're just not quite sure yet anyway. But
Yeah,
playing
for sure.
alongside another rookie in Alex Sarr, right? So they've got, those early picks there. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, having Malcolm Brogdon and then, Chris Middleton sort of there as well, it kind of, I think come silly season, they're just going to last 10, 15 games, let him play, right? And give him some court time. And
Yeah.
They got nothing to lose the Wizards. Just while we're on it, Baltimore, Maryland, a very a hotbed for basketball
You're going to say
players.
something about the wire, aren't you?
No, I'm just going to ask you
I
to
was thinking
give me
anything,
a couple of other players from Baltimore, Maryland, just putting you on the spot that have been successful in the NBA.
Was Joe Smith from around there back in the day? I don't know. No one's jumping out. Iverson?
Rudy Gay, Sam Cassell, Reggie Lewis, Muggsy Bogues, David Wingate, Martell
Yeah.
Webster, just to name a
Where was
few.
Iverson from?
Huh?
Where was Allen
Iverson is from... Yeah.
It's hard sometimes. Obviously, they go to college somewhere and then you remember him there, sort of thing. But I mean, he went to college in Georgetown, which is near Washington, I guess.
Yeah, he's from
kind of
Virginia.
counts, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Georgetown's basically Washington, so you give me half a point for that. But no, I like that one. Nice looking jersey as well. I mentioned to you off air before we recorded. I'm keen to get a Blaylock Coulibaly, so I'll either get that one or maybe the current sort of City Edition one. So I'd appreciate that, Woods. Well, I'm going a little bit old school today. I've got to say I nearly considered wearing my Dylan Windler jersey again after his efforts for my Wildcats last night, but decided against it. So I'll stand up and show you this one. Yeah, probably a random one. You might not even know I've got this jersey, and someone I know you like, so I'll just stand up and rock this one.
And for those who can't see, Robbie's got the New Jersey Nets champion Kendall Gill jersey. Hell yes. Of course I like it, man. I
Okay,
love me some Kendall Gill, baby. Yeah.
So this is one of those small champion size 44s. Luckily, it fits a little bit better than that Oliver Miller one the other week. But yeah, Kendall Gill, blue champion, New Jersey Nets jersey. So a little bit on Kendall Gill. So 15 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Illinois by the Hornets, a pick 5 in the 1990 NBA draft. Love putting you on the spot like you did with me before, Wood. So who went ahead of Kendall Gill? Who were the 5 players or the 4 players that went ahead of him in the 1990 NBA draft?
Ooh, okay. Let me see. So Coleman for sure.
Yep, correct.
Peyton?
Correct. 2-2. Who were the next 2? Got a point guard and an absolute shooting guard, those 2.
3D?
3D was pick 4, so who was pick 3? Finished off his career with a different name than what he started.
Okay. The basketball player formerly known as Chris Jackson.
Correct. So
Mohammed Abdul Rauf. Yeah.
That's it. Pretty solid top 5 picks, right? When you consider those sort of guys there. So yeah, Gill played with the Hornets, Sonics. I think a lot of people remember him there. Nets, Heat, Wolves, Bulls, and Bucks. So played around a little bit there. Last played in the 2005 season. So accolades for Gill there, Wood. So he was named All-Rookie First Team in 91, led the league in steals in 99. So he was definitely a solid defender. He was also a high flyer, participated in a dunk comp and ended up playing over 950 games with career averages of 13.4 points. So very decent career there. He's now 56 years of age, working as a TV analyst. Spent time as a pro boxer and also played in the Big Three a little bit when that first got set up. So he's had a pretty diverse retirement there. But yeah, you mentioned it was someone you like. What were your memories of Kendall Gill?
I just remember he played with a lot of energy, right? And you'd get quite a few Hornets games during that period as well when he was at the Hornets. I remember they were a great brand name. So back then you wouldn't get a lot of games on TV, but we could see quite a few Hornets games. So
yeah.
You could actually relate to some of those players and you watch them play in that 90s time period. So, and yeah, I pulled a lot of his cards in those hoops and those Fleers packets, and you know, I just studied a lot about him. And also really good friends with Lee Ellis, a friend of ours, and he's come on the starters, on the TBJ, and he's even done a 3-point shooting contest with Lee once, I think, on the starters, right?
I always remember that left-handed dunk that he sort of did. It was kind of his trademark dunk, that little left-hand dunk there. But yeah, solid career, and probably someone that's good to. This is why we like doing this show, looking back at someone that probably people haven't thought about Kendall Gill for a while, right? As I said, he retired 20 years ago now. But yeah, very solid career when you look at those numbers there. I don't remember him on some of those end teams there, like on the Wolves, Bulls, and Bucks. Do you really remember him much on those teams?
No, I remember him on the Nets.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I remember
Nets,
him.
Sonics, and Hornets are the main three you remember.
Even the Heat, vaguely, I remember him, right?
Yeah.
But 93 Hornets, Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, Muggsy Bogues, Kendall Gill, Del Curry maybe even on that team, actually. So, yeah.
Nice. So a bit of a rookie player and then an old school player, so that was fun. Quick card of the week there, Wood. So it's a card we got pretty recently, so it's an autograph card. One of our favourite all-time Atlanta Hawks. I think when we made our top 10 Hawks list, 3 or 4 years ago, he was in our top 3 or our top 5, probably a top 3, I'd say. As far as I know, this guy doesn't autograph many cards, so this is a hard one for me to track down, but it's none other than a Darren Mookie Blaylock autograph card. Look at that. Isn't that a nice signature? He's got the nice long signature there. So this card here is an upper deck card from 1999. So it's got on the back, congratulations for getting this card. But isn't that nice there? You can see, Mookie Blaylock, obviously a pretty long name, number 10. Shout out to my mum. She was always a big Mookie Blaylock fan as well. But yeah, quick thoughts on how good was Mookie? Was someone that had that bit of a cult following as well, didn't he, with the Pearl Jam stuff and everything?
Absolutely, man. And I recall when I got my first ever pack of cards, I think it must have been a 1990 Hoops, right? The ones that I like. First ever pack I got. I pulled his New Jersey Nets rookie card in that packet. So straight away from my first ever experience with learning about cards, collecting the game. Mookie Blaylock was there, right? And then coming to join our Hawks and, a past first point guard, someone who got his teammates involved, a guy who will take your cookies, He would have been a great fantasy player, right?
Yeah, he would have been. He was a great defender, great player. And also, while we're talking Mookies, we'll shout out to our good friend Mookie Scirelli as well. I know he'll be listening to this and he'll probably like to hear mention of another Mookie there. So, all right, nice. So a bit of a trip down memory lane. Just a little bit to talk about Woods. Quite a lot actually. I'm understating that. Obviously, NBL semi-finals are in full swing, and that's where we're going to start, right? So, as we mentioned, we are recording on Sunday morning, so Sunday the 2nd of March. So we know that Game 2 of the Illawarra Southeast Games this afternoon, by the time this comes out, that would have already been played. So we're not going to talk too much about that series. We don't want to look stupid and give predictions and have that go wrong, but obviously that game is Sunday afternoon. But I thought we'd start off, of course, with this Melbourne and Perth series, Wood. So maybe we'll quickly recap Game 1 there. So Game 1 on Thursday night, a three-point shooting masterclass from CG43. Melbourne ran away with a 105. Got the wrong score there, but I forget what they won by 5 or 7 or something. I think it was. I've written down the wrong score for some reason. So Colling ended up with 41 points on 10 of 17 threes. So 10 of 17 Woods. Well supported by Ian Clark with 22. For Perth, Cotton, Keanu Pinder, and Doolittle all scored 20 plus, but nobody else had more than 8. And Dylan Windler was really quiet there. So what were your thoughts firstly on that Game 1, and how amazing was CG43?
He was amazing, right? And I mean, 46 and 41 in I think consecutive games it would have been, actually. 87 points the last 2 times he's gone up against the Perth Wildcats. And we'll talk about it later. They needed to make some adjustments for Game 2, which they did. I think that in that Game 1 as well, Keanu Pinder, he was very, very aggressive. How many field goal attempts did he have? 24, 25 field goal attempts?
Also quickly, it was 105-93, so it was a 12 point.
So maybe you can have a look there. How many field goal attempts did Keanu Pinder have in that game?
Yeah, I'll go into that one quickly and have a look at that. So keep
while we're on that, he had a lot of gimmies. He was aggressive. I liked the way he was playing, right? But the buck could have fallen the other way. The Wildcats stayed in that game, right? And really, if it wasn't for CG43's brilliance, that result could have gone a different way. So they would have left that game bit buoyed by the fact that, look, it was one guy that really beat them, and that result could have been gone differently if Keanu and a lot of the bunnies that were missed, not just by Keanu, there's a lot of bunnies missed on that night, right, in Game 1.
And if you would have said at the start of the game, look, Pinder, Cotton, and Doolittle are all going to go for 20 plus in that road game there, you'd be feeling pretty confident as a Wildcats fan there. But as I mentioned, they didn't get anything at all from Dylan Windler in that game. Henschel was decent; he had 8 points, but no one else really stepped up there. They emptied the benches at the end just in garbage time there. You mentioned Pinder there, Wood. So he was 10 of 24. So 24 shot
field goal
attempts,
right?
I mean, and Cotton had 12 attempts, so he's basically had double the field goal attempts in less court time as well. So for Perth, obviously, we saw Ty Webster get injured in that game. That looked quite bad at the time. It was weird. As a massive Perth fan like me, I was kind of happy with the way we played in parts, but then also like, why are we letting Chris Golding get under screens and get these open shots there? I mean, it got to the stage in that fourth quarter, they almost needed to double team Chris Golding and let someone else beat him. Put the pressure on Illy or Delhi or someone like that. I mentioned Clark. I think we both thought Marcus Lee was handy in that game as well. Defending the paint, also just getting those second chances. You get an offensive rebound, kick it out. We saw that a lot of times that Clark or Golding had hit a three. You're a big Marcus Lee fan.
Absolutely, man. And that's the reason why they got Marcus Lee. He's familiar with that system in Melbourne. He's just won a championship with Tasmania, right?
Yeah.
The guy's got experience in this league. And when do you need a big body? When you're going up against a Keanu Pinder, He missed 10 from 24. Well, there was protection at the rim, right?
Yeah.
Marcus Lee was there,
putting off his shots,
changing his shots, right? And
yeah.
This is when you need a guy like Marcus Lee. And if they go to the finals and say face against, they got to go up against the Sam Froling or, this is where he's going to come in handy. And Dean Vickerman and the staff used him sparingly during the regular season. Obviously, they've got Rob Lowe there who can stretch the floor, but they got him for this kind of opportunity. And Ian Clark as well brings that championship pedigree from Sydney and the NBA. I still think we'll get to it in a second, but yeah.
Let's take it back to yesterday, Wood. So we had a nice catch-up last night, didn't we? We went to our local night markets, got a lot of nice food. I may or may not have spilled a whole lot of loaded fries on my Nasri jersey that I was wearing. It's actually come up all right, so I'm happy with that. But that was a fun night, firstly.
Really fun night, man. We'll do it next month.
We will. I think a couple of times last night we were talking about the game. I was nervous last night. I think that's maybe why I spilled my food. I said to you, we need a big Dylan Windler game here, right? He's the X factor for this Wildcats team. They basically win all the games when he scores 15.
What's that stat? Tell me that stat.
I don't think they've lost a game all season when he's 15 plus. I don't know if it's 8-0 or some sort of stat.
I think they've lost one. I think it's 8-1.
Basically, if he has a big scoring game, we're
they pretty much win.
Right? And look, the way the game started last night, Melbourne got up to 20 points, or was it 18 in the first quarter? I'm not going to say I thought it was over, but geez, I was concerned that the crowd was flat. Melbourne just were up and about, had all that energy and that there. And then it slowly started to turn around, right? You saw Perth chipping away. I said to my daughter, if they can get it to around 10 at half time, that's a good sort of statistic. I think I may be down about 11. But then the third quarter, and especially the fourth, American Dylan Windler-Woods, he was huge. He ended up with 27 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and 4 blocks. Including 6 of 7 from downtown. So he single-handedly kept the Wildcats season alive there. It was just a massive game there. Love the way he rebounds. We've spoken about that before. He's got great timing, long arms there, really sort of brings down the rebounds. And look, it was a funny game. We didn't see Pinder do a whole lot. I think he played 16 minutes. Doolittle ended up with decent numbers, but he was a bit shaky at times, wasn't he? He had open shots. Maybe the Marcus Lee factor was there. Look, Cotton was pretty well held again, but did come up with some big shots. Let's talk about Dylan Windler first. I've got another guy I want to talk about. How special was he in this game? That's what they needed, Perth, but geez, he came up big, didn't he? It was a 96-89 win as well, so 7-point victory for the Wildcats.
Absolutely. And look, you heard his interview at the end of the game. He's like, I love these guys. I love this organization, right? I did not want us to go home. I did not want this to be the end of the season. So I put it on myself to do whatever I can to help my team win. And he would have been reminded about his box score, the box score from game 1 and his stat line and his lack of contributions, right? Yeah. And so he would have had a point to prove. And he came into this game in front of his home crowd. Also makes a difference when you're playing in front of your home crowd.
How good was that crowd? They were standing up like basically the whole fourth quarter and really giving great support there.
Yep. And so I love his attitude. That's why you guys got him. A veteran with experience, a great teammate, a great rebounder for his side. And when his shot's dropping, it opens up the floor for everybody, right? Yeah. So
I'm still loving that someone we saw play for Atlanta basically 12 months ago is now helping the Wildcats to win games through the semi-finals. That's awesome there. Look, we were on the group chat a bit. As always when these games are on with the our great friends the sports blokes Stu and Nath in Perth. I think probably I don't think I said too much about him. I think you guys are pretty critical on Ben Henschel, right? I think he missed maybe his first 7 shots. He's 1 of 8 at one stage. His efforts on the defensive end, Woods, he needs to be credited for that. He was just all over Chris Goulding and making shots so difficult for him. I mean, Goulding, obviously, he's going to make shots regardless if he's on, but Henschel really made it difficult. How important was he late in that game?
Very, very important, right? He was a +5 yesterday. Yes, offensively, his game wasn't great, but I was actually talking to you offline after game 1, right? He got lost on a lot of switches, right? Yeah. He went under a couple of screens, and Chris Goulding got open. I mean, sometimes you can't stop Chris Goulding. Like most of the threes he made were just tough shots on game 1. But there were a few that he could have, Ben Henschel could have made a difference and made some critical errors. What he did was he obviously went back with the coaching staff, broke down some footage, and really prepared for his next meeting with Chris Goulding. And you look at that line from CG yesterday, right? 31 minutes, 6 from 18 from the field, 3 from 14 from 3. Okay, now where was the game won and lost? Right, I mean, right there. There
was probably someone else that didn't help Melbourne too much, and that was possibly one of the worst free throw shooting displays I've ever seen from Jack White. As a Perth fan, I was basically like, get him back on in the fourth quarter and foul him. He looked shook from the line, didn't he? He really did. I think he made 2. One of them was a bank as well, right?
2 from 8. Yeah.
A couple of air balls. They were just clanging all over the ring there. So he was basically unplayable, wasn't he? In that last, last quarter for Melbourne, which is pretty big there, keeping him off the court because we know he's a great defensive player in his own right there. Jesse Wagstaff as well, Woods. Thought he had a really good cameo. His plus-minus, as always, was good in that game. But he was handy, wasn't he, hitting shots and doing what he does?
Definitely. And look, Keanu wasn't having a great night. And so coach really said, look, we're just going to run with the veteran down the stretch. And he was great. He's a glue guy nowadays, just fills gaps, does whatever the team needs him to. And Keanu, to his credit, was on the sidelines cheering he was, and just being such a great teammate. So I think what I've seen in the last 6 to 10 games with this Perth Wildcats team is a complete change in the attitude of the team, right? Yeah. They're playing for each other. There's no I in team, and everyone's supporting each other's success. So this reminds me a lot of 4 years ago, okay? Tasmania get absolutely hammered in game one, then go and win the next two games, right?
Yeah,
This momentum Perth could
maybe.
actually take with them.
Well, you know what's funny for Perth? I mean, obviously there was a lot of talk yesterday. Could this be Bryce Cotton's last game? And I almost had a sick feeling in the stomach before that game started. But if you look at the and our great friend Dan Boyce at Aussie Hoopla, I was looking at the free agents list last week. The whole Wildcats team of free agents, except for that Dante Roscoe Nance guy. So the whole team is not signed for next year. So this is interesting to see what happens here. So Tuesday night, Woods, in Melbourne, John Cain Arena, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. Melbourne take on Perth in Game 3 elimination game.
Guess where I'll be?
You'll be in Perth. Yeah.
Oh, I've got to find a pub somewhere.
So that'll be a 4:30 start over there.
Yeah, I've got to work till at least 5:30, so I'll probably get to catch the second half.
I think 4:30 you'll be working too. But okay. Who's winning that game? Who's making the grand final?
Perth.
Ooh, okay.
In a tight one. Yep.
I mean, look, I said Perth all along. I'm going to stand by it. As I said, there is some good signs, I think, in that game one that we had guys, performing. It was just CG43 just, absolutely catching fire there. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a dogfight this game. We're going to see Delhi and Illy and these sort of guys diving all over the floor to get loose balls, and Windler will be doing the same. So can't wait for it for starters. Tuesday's not a bad sort of viewing time. I'm nervous already, but I'm also excited. But yeah, I'm going to say the Wildcats and onto a grand final, and yeah, wish the boys all the best of luck there. So yeah, what a game last night. Look, let's quickly touch on game one of the other series, Woods. As I mentioned, we're not going to really talk about game two because we might look like idiots if we give predictions there, and then when this comes out tomorrow, it's already decided there. But pretty enjoyable game one, I thought there. So Illawarra ran out with a 101-94 win. Yeah, they had a huge third quarter in that game. They were actually down 7 points at halftime. The third quarter, 32-12 by Illawarra, including that massive run there. How did you see that game?
Well, it was actually a 26-point swing because a few minutes into the third quarter, SEM were up by 15. Yeah. And then with about a minute or two left in the third quarter, Illawarra was up by 11, right? And what that comes down to is there's a reason why all NBL first team's backcourt has been, Trey Kell.
Yeah. Both got 24 each, didn't they? Yeah.
And Harvey was just found something in that third quarter. And then they ran with him. They found him because he was feeling it. And this guy's been there. Tyler Harvey has been there with Brian Gorgian 4 or 5 years ago when Illawarra made that run in Sydney Championship campaign, right?
Yeah. Hey, Woods, do you remember that time when Harvey, maybe in his second or third season, he was a bit shaky there, wasn't he? There's talk maybe he wouldn't stay. He stayed now. He's part of the furniture there. And yeah, as you said, first team All-NBL, and he was huge.
Totally. And the best thing for him was obviously the coaching change and Tatum coming in here. I just think that those two really stepped up in the clutch and put the team on their back.
Yeah.
And then Wani Swakal Bullock just does a great job defensively. Dave O'Hickey does a great job defensively. Any guy. Greeter's just called up for 3 minutes, and he gives him 7 points. So
and Darius Day is like no contribution from him coming back from injury, scoreless, I believe. I think in that game.
4 minutes
so
only, right?
Yeah.
4 minutes only. And Tatum's like, look, we're gonna run with Greeter, a few other guys. Darius isn't conditioned yet. Let's let the other guys come in and contribute. And Darius is going to get fit, and hopefully, they make the finals, and they'll get him back to full fitness for the 5-game series if they get that.
Before we talk about the Phoenix, we mentioned the old man putting up numbers to the Wildcats there. What about the old man putting up numbers to the Hawks? Toddy Blanchfield, 16 points. He was huge. He was hitting some really big shots. I think probably in that first half when they were struggling a little bit to score. He was really big there. How did you see his game?
Really good. And look, he's a 16-year veteran, right? He's been in this league for so long. He's never had the opportunity to win a championship, right? This is his best chance yet, and playing in that system, he's that old head in that locker room, right?
Don't the teammates love him as well? You can just see that.
You can just see
everywhere
it.
He's played, it's been the same as well.
With the body language of his teammates, you can see it. And then even in interviews, Coach Tatum's always talking about how important he is to the culture of this club. And he relied on him to play 25 minutes, down the clutch.
Oh, yeah, he was basically on the whole fourth quarter as well. I want to quickly touch on Phoenix, the Phoenix there, Wood. So, look, Joe Wieskamp, who's been up and down, he was really good. Led the team with 22 points. Sobey had 17, was good. His field goal percentage wasn't great, but he was important. And Derek Walton Jr., I thought, was really good in his comeback game. So 15 points, 11 assists, he controlled it well. But I want to focus more on the two guys that, maybe didn't stand up in that game. So Matt Hurt, 10 points on only 3 of 5 shooting. Stormed off after the game, didn't even go in the handshake line. And the other one that surprised me was Geordie Hunter, 7 points, and he only played 13 minutes. I don't think he missed a shot in the 13 minutes through 7 points, but what do those two guys need to do in, going forward in this series?
Yeah, I think Matt Hurt, 6 field goal attempts in 35 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I watched the game closely. It wasn't just a product of, the defensive job done on him, right? or his teammates not finding him, he needs to go demand the ball more. Go,
Yeah.
go down in the post and just demand it. Go and
Yeah.
set some screens, roll, pick and he's a great pick and pop guy, right?
Yeah.
He's
And
got to
Walton's
go.
going to find you, right?
Yeah.
If you're open, Walton's going to find you if you're working hard to get the ball.
Got to find ways, and like Walton, he not like he wasn't finding teammates. What do you have? 11 dimes, right?
Yep,
So I
yep.
think very important for them to get him involved. He needs 15, 20 shot attempts, man. If Keanu Pinder can put up 24 shots in an NBL game,
He knows
trust
that as well,
me.
doesn't he?
Trust
I'm
me.
going to make you potentially look bad, Woods. I'm not going to give a prediction. Who's winning the game this afternoon that when this comes out tomorrow would have already been decided? Illawarra sweeping or a Southeast forcing a game through?
Illawarra just will be too strong over 4 quarters, I feel, right?
So if Southeast win and this comes out tomorrow, you're going to look ridiculous, right? But all good. I appreciate you putting your neck out and doing that. So yeah, looking forward to watch that game this afternoon anyway. And as I said, this will be out sort of after that's concluded. But yeah, really good first couple of games in the NBL semis. Really enjoyed it. And as I said, this time last year, we were sort of getting ready for our American trip, and we missed out on the grand final, didn't we? We were watching games at weird times on on small phones and stuff. So
Yeah, we were.
looking forward. So I think they've already released the final schedule. Basically, right, if it's this scenario, the games are this date. I'd still love to see them do this a week earlier. I know AFL starts next week. I'd always think they just need to finish it that week before. But anyway, that's
the FIBA break being changed.
Yeah,
it's a global thing.
Yeah,
that's the difficult part of it. We
it
can't
is.
just
It does
change
seem
it.
to make a difference, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. But no, it's been great so far. But look, plenty of NBA to talk about as well. Woods. We didn't talk any NBA really last week.
Awesome,
We
man.
had
Excited.
a guest on there, so got a few almost sort of some quick hits and things to go over. So thought we'd start off with the news. It came out last week, but still is very much worth mention there. So Victor Wembanyama out for the season due to a blood clot in his right shoulder. There, some deep vein thrombosis there. Pretty concerning news to hear that. What were your thoughts on that injury there?
Blood clots are very, very serious. Can end careers. We saw what happened with Chris Bosh. I can give you other examples across a variety of different sports.
Yeah.
James Taylor, ex-English cricketer, had to retire at 24. Same thing, right? So they've said it's not that serious, but at the same point, we don't want him to be playing when he's suffering from DVT. So he's young.
Yeah.
He's obviously got a unique body, 7'5" tall, and things aren't the same for him as it is for the rest of us. So this is a smart decision, and I wish him nothing but a speedy recovery because he's had a great year.
The league's not the same without him playing. I mean, I saw there was a Spurs game on the other week. Normally, I would have been like, right, grab the remote and put it on. I'm just like, no, I won't this time. But I read a few specialists, talking about that. They were saying it does seem to impact these really long limbs, sort of, guys in these sports. You mentioned Chris Bosh, I think Brandon Ingram, and you look at the body shapes of Ingram, Wembanyama, and Bosh. There's a pretty similarity there as well. So, absolutely wish him all the best there. Hopefully, they're not going to rush him back there. He's, the prime sort of player they want to have, playing in that Spurs jersey for the next decade plus. So, hopefully he comes back, and he's all good to go next season. But didn't it happen out of nowhere? He's like playing in the All-Star game 1 minute, and then we like, he's missing the next game due to illness. And then we're like, no, he's out for the season due to DVT there. So,
I reckon around the All-Star break, everyone does their physicals on all their players just to make sure things are,
Yeah. So that was some bad and sad news there. Other news we had, not quite the impact of a player, but Bobby, Crazy Eyes Portis there, Wood. So he's out for essentially the rest of the regular season for like a drug suspension there. I think he's saying there was a bit of a mix-up with something he took there and that. But what were your thoughts on that news there?
Should have just said his mum gave him it, like what he did, right?
Pretty much.
But look, he made an innocent mistake. He admitted it. Okay, it's gonna cost him 25 games.
Yeah, important player for that.
Very
Bucks
important
team,
player for the Bucks. And with Brook Lopez getting on a little bit, they've lent on Bobby Portis a little bit more than usual this year.
Yeah.
So it looks like Andre Jackson and whoever else will have to come and step in and fill the void. But they'll need him.
Kuzma was probably a good trade in hindsight now, getting him to sort of play that position, wasn't he? But
I
mean, look, he'll be back come final. So I think maybe just towards the end of the regular season. Wasn't great. I had him in about 3 fantasy teams, Mr. Crazy Eyes, so had to dump him there. But he will be back. And lastly, with those little quick hits in the NBA, Woods, Taron Armstrong. Firstly, I think, I've been sort of talking him up. I think he obviously is not draft eligible there. I think I was maybe wrong with asking that.
He's not
played
draft
his
eligible.
career in college.
That's right.
He's obviously
Cal Baptist, he was there briefly, right?
The Lancers,
So
signed the was it the 2-way contract with Golden State, right? So I've seen he has been on the box scores. I don't think he's taken the quarters yet, but what great news, right? This is probably more an eye looking towards next season now. I'm not sure what sort of minutes he'll get with Golden State, but that was great news to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And Steph Curry with his relationships across the NBL with the likes of Andrew Bogut, Luke Longley, and so forth, wouldn't have hurt, right?
Yeah.
So Andrew Gaze as well, they've got that relationship. So I'm sure Steve Kerr, the Golden State staff have been keeping an eye on him, and have got their trusted confidants in the Australian basketball community to lean on, and great opportunity, great organization for him to go into, right?
It really is, yeah. And what so many great players to learn under there. I mean, another NBA jersey we need to buy, right? Like an Armstrong Golden State jersey would be good. So yeah, great news and congratulations to. I believe he's the first Tasmanian ever to make it to the NBA. I think I've heard a few people saying.
Ooh,
So
think.
Tassie-born player, I believe he is.
Maybe
obviously,
you're right. Yeah,
Jack
yeah.
McVeigh's not Tasmanian. He just
Yeah.
was a Jack jumper. So yeah, congratulations to him there. And look, I just wanted to go on to two teams, Woods. So two of the hot teams in the NBA at the moment. So if I put this on a run sheet at the start of the season, you would have thought I'm crazy. But I want to talk about Detroit and Portland. So one team from the East, one from the West. Look, both teams have been playing so well, especially the Pistons. So maybe let's start there. I know you've got a pretty cool stat here, but they've actually doubled their 14 wins from last year. Really like the roster makeup of this team. Just want to ask you, do you think these guys could cause some damage in the playoffs? Because I could see them not only winning a round, say they win the first round and they have like a Bucks or a Cleveland in the second round, maybe getting an upset, maybe getting all the way to the conference finals. I could be jumping ahead, but yeah, what's your thoughts on this Pistons team?
Firstly, the interesting stat that you speak of is they won 17 and 14 last 2 years, 31, right? They've already won 33 games this year. So they've already won more than they've won in combined.
I wonder if
last
that's
two
ever
seasons.
happened before, right?
Right, before, by the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So that's just nuts. So that just shows the ascension that they've had this year, and their coach has a lot to do with that, which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later in the show. And also the Cade Cunningham taking his game to the next level. That's something we've spoken about. They needed a floor general, a guy to stay healthy as well. Cade Cunningham hasn't been fully healthy over the last few years. He's been able to stay on the floor and really take his game to the next level. But to answer your question, can they make some noise? Look, if they get a Pacers in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if they won that series, right? But if they come sixth and they potentially get a Bucks or a Knicks, I just can't see them winning that series. They don't have the experience of going to the playoffs. A 7-game series is different. Maybe a first-round victory against the Pacers I could see, right? Yeah.
A couple of things about that roster lineup that I mentioned I like. Getting Dennis Schroeder was huge. I think they've lost one game. He's going to be really important come playoff time. As much as these, I know you like these irrational confidence guys, Woods. I love the three-point shooters, but Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr., they are guys that could swing a playoff game on their own. Beasley's had some huge games this year. God, he annoys me watching him. He's so full of himself, isn't he? But he's a great shooter there. So both those guys have got some skills there. But yeah, I think the addition of Schroeder with those two guys, I'm a big fan of Jalen Duren. Woods, did you hear what Dominique, who he said he looked like on the Hawks game the other day? He said that Jalen Duren looks like a young Orlando Woolridge. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, he does look like it. So look-alike, not play-alike. So look-alike there. Obviously, Jaden Ivey being out, a big loss in there. But the way Cade Cunningham's playing, I mean, he's a chance to probably All-NBA second team, I would have thought. He's been so good this season.
Absolutely. And bringing in Schroeder's helped with that loss of Jaden Ivey a little bit.
Yeah.
Toby Harris is the guy that I just think is going to be really, really important for them. He's the veteran, been there. He's the old head in that team.
Yeah.
He's been a bit quiet, but since the All-Star break, he's had a few good games. He started to contribute a little bit more. So they're going to lean on his services a lot come the postseason.
Remember how impressed we were with seeing him live last year, Tobias Harris? Like, I remember people asking me, and someone's like, I think my brother said, who was it? Seeing in person, you always said, I'm like, Tobias Harris really stood out. That guy's a beast. So, yeah, I mean, he gets a little bit unheralded now. People don't really think of him on this Pistons lineup there, but I think he could be someone that could help them, get a playoff win or two as well.
And just quickly, those two, Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway, they're the worst players to own in NBA fantasy because one of them is going to make 7 threes, the other's going to make 0. The next day, the other guy's going to do it. But that's the thing. One of them is going to have a good night and if they both have a good night, then watch out. You're going to
have a look closely if you haven't seen Malik Beasley. Some of his antics, right? Anyone he scores on, he'll do the too small thing. He dances all the time. Tim Hardaway's a lot more sort of a respectful sort of player. Beasley's kind of borderline hilarious in the stuff he does there. But yeah, Detroit Pistons, if you're not watching them, click on League Pass and watch some of their games. I think you'll be pretty excited.
Leaky Beasley.
There. Yeah, that's it. And shout out to our boy Janner as well, Woods. I know he's a listener of the show and a big Pistons
for
fan,
sure.
So,
JR, man.
I know he's enjoying how well they're playing this year. So, and let's talk about the team in the West. Another team, like if someone would have mentioned this team's playing good. Look, Portland Trailblazers, it's not a team that's going to be playing finals this year unless something crazy happens here. But
maybe.
But look, they went 21 and 61 last season. They're already well over 20 wins this year. You've spoken about maybe you weren't a big fan of Chauncey Billups before. I think maybe you've come around a little bit. But yeah, what are you liking about this young squad and why are they playing so well?
Yeah, okay, so firstly, I'll take it back, right? Chauncey Billups, I was like, what's he doing? Let the young guys play. But now I've come around because I think he's like, I don't care what the franchise says. I want to try and win every single game. I'm not tanking for nobody, right?
Yeah.
So a big reason behind him, playing those guys was because he wanted to win ball games, and I can see that now.
Yeah.
And they play hard every night. I think, like with them, you've got a really good nucleus. Denny Avdia, Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simmons, Donovan Clingan, Shaden Sharp,
Yeah.
Tamani Kamara. These guys
good
are
boy.
great. And look, having DeAndre Ayton being injured and Time Lord is obviously not
It's
always.
Thibault, where's he?
Huh?
It's Thibault. He's been on the
Tybull and
sidelines
Time
all
Lord
year.
are injured,
Yeah.
but it's forced Donovan Clingan to be thrust into a prominent role, and his advanced metrics are ridiculous, right? He's a
Yeah.
great rebounder. His ability to protect the rim is terrific. Denny Avdia just out
Yeah,
of
talk to me
nowhere.
about him, Woods. I know he's someone that offline we've spoken about. I don't think we've probably ever spoken about him on the show before. How well is Denny Avdia playing this year? Coming over from Washington.
Very well. In
last
Washington, he was lost. He's come over from. He actually came over in that trade for Carrington. I think he was part of that Carrington trade, actually, right on draft night when Portland drafted him. We talked about Carrington earlier. Look, he came in here and Chauncey Billups has put him in even in a small ball 5, playing a bit of 4, right? And he's
He can
just
distribute, can't he?
become an all-sort. He's averaging 15 points a game. I think
Yeah.
about 7 rebounds and 4 assists, shooting 47% from the field, 34% from 3. He's just a bit of a do-it-all player. He's the type of guy who can do a little bit of everything, fill up the box score, and he's a great teammate. So I like that nucleus that I just mentioned. A guy like Scoot Henderson. Everyone said in that first year he was a flop. He's the next Derrick Rose. Okay, fine. He might not be the next Derrick Rose. It's not easy for point guards to figure out how to play in the NBA. He sort of figured it out this year, and we've seen him improve. He might not be that star, but he's going to be a solid NBA player, right?
Shaden Sharp as well, someone obviously puts up the
yes.
highlight reel plays. We saw that massive dunk he had a couple of games ago, but he's really sort of, he's healthy for the first time in a while. He's putting up great numbers, but I think there's a bright future. If you're a Trailblazers fan, there's some really good signs there. And they're another team, I think they seem to, when all the games are finished in a day, Woods, and there seems to be that late Portland game, right? We see it happen quite a bit, sort of thing. Like how you put them on, I find them quite entertaining to watch there. And,
Me too.
I think we both like that. We like watching some of the random teams and learning about some of these sort of players and stuff there. So, so just thought we'd sort of mention those two teams, Detroit and Portland, teams that don't get a lot of recognition or, press and talk about them, but they've been really fun to watch this year. So,
I mean, even guys like Delano Batten's starting to play again, Jabari Walker, there's a lot of guys on that team that can just step up and contribute for you right away. And I got to give some credit to the coaching staff.
Yeah. Shout out to Chauncey Billups. Nice one. Well, before we wrap up the NBA, Woods, thought I'd had something pretty interesting that I was sort of reading about last week, right? So I'll just read you some thoughts here. And it's in relation to the three-point, stats and everything and how much the shots are getting jacked up this year. So tell me your thoughts on this when I finish reading this. So the NBA is on the cusp of accomplishing something that it hasn't seen before. The jury's still out on whether this is a good thing. With about 6 weeks left in the season, 2-point shots are accounting for 49% of scoring. And if that stat holds up, and there's no indication that it won't, this will be the first season in which 2-pointers make up less than half of the league's point production. So the current quick breakdown there. So a record low 49% of scoring comes from 2-pointers. A record high 36% comes from 3-pointers. And a near record low 15% comes from the foul line. So these numbers are really proof on how much the 3-point shot continues to change the game, I guess. And that's why plenty of people are wondering if the league, does have a problem there with the way this has shifted. Steph Curry, who we saw hit 12 3-pointers on Friday, teams and guys doing this. He's the league all-time leader in 3-point shot. Just wanted to ask you, I thought that was a pretty crazy stat. This will be the first ever time that there's been a higher percentage of 3-points than 2. What's your thoughts on that?
Look, if guys like Walker Kessler and Nick Claxton didn't shoot threes, the statistic wouldn't be as it is. Like I understand that the game's changed, okay? And I actually enjoy it. I love watching the spacing on the floor and guys shooting it from the logo. It is entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a hater, right?
Yeah.
I don't like it when you got guys who are shooting 10, 15, 20%, like Nick Claxton, Walker Kessler, these kind of guys should never shoot a 3-point shot. And the statistic would be skewed a little bit more towards the 2-point shot if we got rid of some of these absolutely ridiculous ill-advised shots. Or the one where you get an offensive rebound and it goes back to the same guy in the same spot and he just jacks it up again. It's just a dumb shot, man. You've got a second chance opportunity. Let's get a good look, right? So these are the kind of instances where I think that, some discretion can be used when selecting when to take threes. Right? Let's say
Fair.
that.
And Woods, you're a bit of a fan of the old school game as well. So you like the low post game, right? You've made that clear
Absolutely.
over the time. You even see that sometimes in the rare time that someone is making a low post move. They'll make their little move, get close to the ring, and then they'll still kick it out for a 3-point shot. So maybe it's that sort of move. I know, look, 3 points is more than 2. We've mentioned that several times before. But, a post move from 5 feet out when you've got someone, basically, pushing under the ring sort of thing, put the shot up, right? You would have thought that would be a higher percentage shot. But, yeah, just thought that was a pretty interesting one. Any final thoughts on those comments there?
Yeah, look, for all our NBA fans that also watch the NBL, look at a guy like Christian Doolittle, right? He can stretch the floor, shoot the corner 3, the trail 3, but he loves to get down in the post, get his little midi going. There's still a room for that type of player who can stretch the floor, but still demands the ball in the low post occasionally when there's an opportunity for him to back down and play some back to the basketball. So I'd like to see that a little bit more, right?
Fair call. All right, I appreciate that, Wood. So, look, we're going to do some very quick hits, right? I've got this on the run sheet. We're not going to spend much time on this, Wood. So last weekend in that FIBA break, we saw the Boomers play their 2 games. They had 2 big wins. They beat Indonesia by 51 and they beat Thailand by 50 there. So, look, we're not going to spend too much time on that game. For me, it was kind of cool seeing some of these guys making their debuts, right? So it was 6 guys making their debuts. Elijah Pepper led the team in scoring both games. Incidentally, didn't get on for the Wildcats, but any thoughts on that? We know they were meaningless games, but still kind of cool to see some guys make some debuts, right?
I mean, I'm a basketball nerd. I watched both games, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't that entertaining. Yes, it was good to see some guys, make their debuts. And yeah, look, they're going to be better off for this opportunity once they've represented their country, right? Especially a guy like Elijah Pepper, for him coming over from America, and getting accustomed to life in Australia. This is great for someone like him.
What about that ejection that Emmett Adair got? Did you see that one? That was just random in the Thailand game. That was just a strange call there. People YouTube that if you haven't seen it. But yeah, obviously that was a FIBA break then. And I was the same, Woods. There was no other, local basketball to watch. So of course I ended up watching those games. And obviously the Thailand game with the link to my household with that. I had to watch that there and see the Boomers destroy them. So, all right, as I mentioned, not going to spend much time on that. But one thing I wanted to press on there, Woods, and talk a little bit of WNBL. I know we've been a little bit slack on the WNBL lately. We've had so much other things coming up. So we apologise about that. But the grand final set in that as well. So we've got the Bendigo Spirit taking on Townsville. So let's do a quick recap of the semi-finals there. So Townsville played Perth. Look, it was an absolute thriller in game 1. That was one of the most enjoyable games I've seen. We saw Coffee, filling up in that game for Townsville, sister of Amir Coffee for the LA Clippers there. She was really impressive. That was a 5-point win there. And then, game 2 in Townsville. Townsville ran away with a 30-point win there. So they were the first team in the grand final. And the other series, the minor premiers, the Bendigo Spirit, they beat your Sydney team, Woods, by 9 in the first game, 17 in the second game. So I think it should be a pretty good grand final series. We know Bendigo's got the home court advantage. It's a best of 3 series there. But give me a quick prediction. What were your thoughts on how this is going so far?
I think Bendigo's been the strongest team throughout the season, right? They've got experience on their roster.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a good series, though. But I'm gonna side with Bendigo. Probably to sweep the series.
Sweep, you reckon? Look, I'm going to say it goes to 3. I think Sammy Wickham could be the difference. I do like some of the pieces that Townsville's got. Being coached by Michael Clark. Actually, no, it's not Michael Clark, but shout out to Shannon Seaborn there, who's a great coach. I think, I'm looking forward to it. I think they're probably the 2 best teams. I felt a little bit sorry for your Sydney team there, Woods. They were a little bit beat up, weren't they? They had, one of their imports had returned overseas. They had some injuries there. So they were a little bit up against it there, but I thought they still fought pretty hard. And in terms of Perth playing against Townsville, look, they had every opportunity in that game 1, and that would have been very interesting had they have got that. But then, they just looked a little bit shocked in game 2 there. Townsville's a very deep team there. But, looking forward to watch that. I think game 1 is Wednesday next week. And, look, I hope these don't clash with NBL games. It seems to happen a fair bit with the scheduling there. But, encourage people to, watch that final series, get behind whichever team you're going for. I'm going to go for Townsville on that one. We know these 2 teams have got some finals history as well. They've played a couple of times in grand finals there. So I feel like this one could go either way. Maybe I'll say Bendigo the same as you, just with the Sammy Wickham factor and the home court advantage as well there. But looking forward to see how that goes.
I noticed there's a McDowell White on the Townsville roster.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. It's a pretty famous name now, isn't it? Yeah, we see even Kobe's on the end of the bench for Illawarra there. So it's good to see that, isn't it? Those sort of connections with the brothers and sisters and cousins and everything else like that. So that's pretty cool there. So all right, that's the quick hits section, Woods. We'll finish off before we go into a classic packs. We just got some true false there, right? I know people like this. These are pretty quick hits there.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I'll show you what I've got today. A bit of a mix of NBL and NBA. So the first one, I think this is pretty topical as well. Having another NBL team in Sydney would be a big mistake by the league. True or false?
True, and I'll tell you what, we've seen this before, right? We've seen it with the Razorbacks. Sydney's a very fickle sporting community. It's not like
You said it,
Melbourne.
yeah.
If we're winning games, if things are going well, all well and good. We had a real problem once the whole firepower incident, Sydney left the league. We came back into the league, right? We were
Yeah.
struggling for win. The Moose Rebellion days were very difficult. And then they alienated the fans by moving from the city all the way to Homebush, right? It really took till Bogut came over here and Andrew Gaze was the coach.
Yeah.
And then Chase Buford built on that for Sydney to be a success. And we've got something good now, right?
Yeah. I'm going to throw something back at you, Woods. You mentioned that thing coming over from the city. This team they're talking about, they're going to be called the Harbour City, I think. So that to me sounds like they're going to be a team that plays in the city. And they're talking about it being a next stars team. I'm not sure about that part. Are people going to get behind and buy a jersey of a player that might be a year and then they move on to be a revolving door? I'm not sure about that side. But what if this team is like a city-based team? They could potentially take some fans and some people away that go to these Kings games. Absolutely right.
Look, if they had a fit-for-purpose stadium in the city, right? Yes, but then you're right. It would cost a lot of the memberships that the Kings are getting, right?
So how much more did we prefer going to the city back in the day? You get a bus there. Before or after the game, you've got every single food or drink option you want in the city, right? You can go do some shopping afterwards to do what you want. You go to Olympic Park there, and that place is a ghost town. It's not there's a couple of places that's there after the game, but it's not quite compared to the city. But
absolutely, man.
Yeah, it seems like that's going to be the next franchise, though, Woods. Like, from the way everyone's talking, it's not going to be Gold Coast, not going to be Canberra, not going to be Darwin. It's going to be another Sydney team. So we'll be watching that with interest there. So, I'm going to say true. I think it would be a big mistake. I'm not I agree with what you said there about the way this town supports teams. I think
and too much to compete with now, like you got Big Bash, AFL, Rugby League,
2 AFL teams, all 8 or 9 rugby league teams. I agree there. All right, we'll stick with the Sydney theme there. So Sam Froling from the Illawarra Hawks will be a Sydney King next season.
False. I mean, Justin Tatum's locked in for another year, and the growth that he's shown under Tatum has been awesome. And if he wants an opportunity to play in Europe, potentially even in the NBA, if he can develop a three-point shot, it's not out of the question, right?
Yeah,
he's going to get those opportunities under Tatum because Tatum's on the path towards becoming an NBA assistant coach. True. We know that, right?
I'm going to agree with False as well. I think he's pretty happy down. Obviously, Illawarra is the Wollongong area is a very different a place than Sydney there. I think he's happy down there. He's had that success there, and I think they'll sign him to another contract there. All right, we mentioned this team earlier. Detroit Pistons coach JB Bickerstaff is a big chance to win Coach of the Year this season.
Oh, yeah, he is a big chance. I'd probably go Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland. What's the boy? Taylor Jenkins in Memphis, maybe. Udoka in Rockets. Those are the 3 guys I'd probably put in the mix. But yes, he's a very good chance. I'd say true. Yeah.
I'm going to say true. I'm going to say he wins it, but that worries me because we know that Coach of the Year curse. It's occurred a little bit over the time there as well. We've seen it with quite a few coaches, right? That they end up sort of leaving that team within 1 or 2 seasons. So I think he will get it. I think with that sort of improvement, he has to be a massive chance. Our Atlanta Hawks, haven't spoken a lot about them on the show. They've been a little bit of a slide lately, but the true-false question for them is the Atlanta Hawks have overall improved the team with the additions of Karis LeVert, Terrence Mann, and Shoot That Thang Niang. True or false?
Yeah, I'd say true, man. I mean, parting ways with DeAndre Hunter during his career year was difficult, and you and me have an affinity towards DeAndre Hunter, so it was hard to see him go.
Yeah.
But at the same point, long term, this is a good option. I still think though it doesn't help us with our defense, man. We're still struggling. We're giving up a lot of points, right? Offense has never been our problem. So yes, I'm going to say true.
Those 3 guys were our best 3 players in that game against OKC yesterday. Obviously, it was a pretty big loss there. But yeah, I'm liking the additions of them there. It's not
good
quite
effort. We hung with them for a while, man.
We did.
Okay. Just where Jalen Johnson is just so sorely missed, right?
It is, right. Yep. We're going to finish off with a TV question, Woods. I know you're loving your TV shows and that. So the question this week is...
Yep.
The documentary Court of Gold and the sitcom Running Point are both must-watch TV shows.
Absolutely true. In fact, I'd prefer Running Point over the documentary. We've watched a lot of sport documentaries.
So for people that haven't seen these shows, Woods, give us a little quick idea on what these 2 shows are.
Okay, Running Point is basically loosely based on the Boss family. Like, it's pretty obvious it's based on the Boss family, where the oldest girl out of the serve a basketball team there. What do they call the LA
Waves? Yeah, so fictitious.
The LA Waves. It's a fictitious
team.
team. So it's a bit of satire. It's very smart, intelligent, and well done. And it's a great laugh. You'll have cameos from the likes of Kelly Olynyk and who else was there? Jalen Rose is on there.
Jalen Rose, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
strongly recommend it. Quarter Gold has a look behind the scenes of the Olympics, how much it means to these guys to go and compete and represent their countries at an Olympic Games, not only from the perspective of the US team, but from Serbia, Germany, Canada. Who else was covered in that?
And the US basically, I
and
think
the
the
US,
other
yep,
team
yep,
there. But
yep.
yeah, I'm enjoying that. Look, you need the subtitles on a lot. There's, I think one of the episodes is basically all on Serbia, so you need the subtitles there. But yeah, I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying both shows as well.
And
Like,
France
very
as well.
different.
And
France
France
as
as
well,
well.
of course.
Yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
a lot of Evan Fournier,
Yep.
being spoken to there. But yeah, recommend both shows as well. I mean, especially the NBL is finishing soon. Maybe watch those shows. Tell us what you thought. Give us some feedbacks on the chat and everything else.
Running
like that.
Point was hilarious. I could not stop laughing, man.
You binged that in one day, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Nice. All right, Woods, let's finish off with some classic packs.
All right, so what I got is the 1991 Fleer basketball. And I found actually a dealer in Australia that sends them to me for cheap. So I think these are like $4 each. So I got like 5 for $20, which is pretty good.
Nice,
So
that's decent. Yeah.
we know that
And
these
these are the ones with the Dominique insert card,
yes,
and the Kemi
they
Mutombo
are.
one as well.
They
So
are indeed.
hopefully you pull one of those. That'd be cool.
Okay. Slightly bigger pack, 14. I think a lot of them have 12. Okay. Oh. My brother and I could never say the Seattle Sonics center's name properly because we didn't know how the accent was pronounced.
Has he got a ginormous neck?
Yes.
Yes. Benoit or Benoit Benjamin?
Benoit Benjamin.
Look at that
LA,
neck.
If you're listening, Benoit Benjamin.
Benoit.
Okay. Great leader. Great leader on those Portland Trailblazers teams. They needed him. When you talk about the Clyde Drexler as the buck and duck of the world, there was a point guard on this
Terry
team.
Porter.
Yes.
He was one of those original guys that made the bald head look cool as well, wasn't he? I remember sort of growing up thinking, Terry Porter's a cool dude with that bald head. So, no, he was a good player. Did he play all of his career with Portland as well? I don't seem to remember him on many other teams there.
No, he did at the end.
He did at the end.
Yeah. Okay. 3 words for you. Okay, 3 words for you. You got to guess this player. Confidence, baby, confidence.
Rolando Blackman.
Rolando.
Another shout out to our friend Lee Ellis as well.
Shout out to Lee Ellis.
Talking about Rolando Blackman doing that at the free throw line in that 87 All-Star game, I'm going to say there, where he's sort of went up and knocked those free throws down. But yeah, very good player, right?
I remember this. I pulled this card when I was like 6 years old, and I was so ignorant, and I'm like, Dad, is his name Black Man? Because he's a black man.
It's nice. Nice. Yeah, it's not the most common name, is it, I guess? Yeah.
Okay, we've got a league leader in scoring card, okay? Last season, this man led his team to the NBA's promised land, finally cementing his place among the game's all-time elite, averaging 31.5 PPG during the regular season. Who am I talking about?
Can't be Jordan, can it?
Of course it is.
Oh, it is Jordan. Okay, cool. Oh, nice. He got a nice Jordan card. He's had a bit of Chuck Person in front of him as well there. Nice. Oh, that's always good.
Rifleman,
yeah? Yeah, nice.
Okay, we've actually pulled this guy's card a few weeks ago. What we're talking about here is a guy who spent his whole life in Salt Lake City, with his family, bespectacled forward from the Utah Jazz.
Phil Bailey.
Didn't
he play with Minnesota as well? Didn't we say that? He had a bit of time with the Timberwolves? Yeah.
Yep, but he settled down in Salt Lake
look
City.
who's on the card. Look who's on the card for the Bulls, my mate.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
He settled down with his family in Salt Lake City
that's
and
right.
built a
Still
life for
commentates
himself
the
there.
games.
Yeah,
doesn't he? Yeah.
All right. One of our lottery picks in, I think it was 89. Was he a lottery pick? Yeah, he was. He was a lottery pick in 89 for the Hawks. Yeah. And he had an okay rookie campaign, but never really lived up to expectations. Went to University of Michigan. You gotta know him, man. Come on, our guy. First round pick 10 in the 1990 NBA draft. Okay.
So not Doug Edwards. He went to Florida. It's not him.
Atlanta Hawk.
Yeah. What number?
22. First round pick in the 1990 NBA draft. There's that famous skybox card of his with the gold background wearing a hat.
Do you like Emil?
Yes.
Emil Robinson. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Love that old jersey too.
All right. Oh, man. The thing is, you woke up this morning and you wanted to record. If you didn't get enough of this, you might end up this morning feeling a little...
Eric Sleepy Floyd.
Eric Floyd, yes.
He's a forgotten about player, isn't he?
Yep. Now, this is one of the most famous All-Star games. I remember that they actually asked Magic Johnson to come and play one final time in this All-Star game. And my brother and I still remember it, man. We just come to Australia a year or so before that, and my dad yelled out to us while we were playing in the backyard or something. The All-Star game's on, Magic is playing. My brother and me ran upstairs to watch the game, and getting that MVP was one of the
good memories for the family.
Fond memory for everyone.
Yeah, I remember him hitting that big three as well. Kind of sealed that as well. So now that's a good flashback there.
All right. Clippers forward, someone that I'm very, very fond of, and you're not, right?
Oh, no.
University of Kansas' finest son, Danny Manning.
See, I didn't want to say his name. So we've got a Scottie Pippen on one card. We've got Danny Manning. If you pull a John Concack, then you're getting the whole trio that I don't like here.
Okay, I've pulled this card like many times, man. Like I think I've got 3 or 4 of this card. We talked about ball players from Baltimore, Maryland this morning, and I mentioned this guy's name, right?
Kevin Duckworth?
No, Boston Celtics legend, who was taken from us
Reggie
too soon.
Lewis. I think we had him the last time we did a classic pack, didn't we? Yeah.
Reggie Lewis.
Yeah, nice. Show us the back of those cards as well. It's pretty cool. You got the 2 photos and the stats and a little bit of a bio underneath. That's the stuff that we like. Right?
Love it.
You know, you read why someone got the nickname or something, get their parents did or something. Always like they don't seem to have that on the cards these days.
Skybox cards doesn't have any of them either back in the day. All the Flair, the Hoops ones were awesome.
Yeah.
But it had like 10 years of their stats.
You'd sit there and read them and you learn about all the players.
Because back then we couldn't go on the internet and find out what people average. So I could go back and look at guys' stats for 10 years and what their PPG was, everything. That's the only way we'd find out.
That's how we learn.
So we just learn about it. All the stuff that's in our head right now, it's because of the stuff we consumed in the early 90s, whatever, in the back of these cards, right? Okay, well, I gave it away. Mark Aguirre, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah, he could fill it up as well. Obviously, you know, spent time with Dallas as well, Mark Aguirre. I think he was in the Adrian Dantley trade where Detroit and Dallas swapped their key players. Yeah.
Really good friends with Magic as well, which we found out in the various documentaries.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, number 42, LA Lakers. One of their favorite sons.
Big game.
Big James. What a pack.
Yes, it's a good pack, isn't it? Nice.
Parks and Recreation, Indiana. Detlef Schrempf.
The original sort of German, yeah, he was great, wasn't he? You know, Seattle, Dallas, Indiana, of course. Yeah, he had a really solid career.
Got his Seattle jersey as well. Okay, we talked about our list of favorite Hawks. This guy was in the top 5 for both of us as well. Forward center from the Atlanta Hawks. My man.
I'm glad you said the forward bit because we had that thing the other week. I'm like, you're telling me Kevin Willis. I always thought of him as a power forward. So Kevin Willis, yeah.
Well, it says forward center, 7 foot.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Is he looking smooth on the back? I know he had that great dress sense, or is it just a player sort of jerseys there? Yeah. It's cool when the Hawks get him on in those games this year when Dominic and him have a chat. You can see they're still pretty close, can't you? He's a champ, Kevin Willis.
Yeah, definitely in his final years when he was on those San Antonio teams, he was playing the 5 predominantly.
Normally a 4. That's how I remember him with the Hawks. So we had a lot of those big white stiffs at center as well, didn't we? He played
Concac and Co.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it, man.
Nice. That was a good pack, wasn't it? Yeah, we won't go through all those. Yeah, definitely some good names there. So that was a really fun show, Woods. There was a lot to talk about. You know, we started off with the semi-final stuff. My, excitement after that big Wildcats win. We had all the NBA stuff. WNBL, the true and false stuff. So really enjoyed that. And yeah, look, it's a bit different doing this on a Sunday morning. We know you're going to Perth next week. Looking forward to that. Before we go into the outro, what do you got planned in Perth apart from work?
I'm going to be a guest on the Sport Blokes podcast, which I'll be recording with them next week, doing a bit of coverage of the Champions Trophy cricket and some basketball as well, so that'll be great. And yeah, look, mainly for work, man, but it'll be nice to find somewhere quiet to watch that game on Tuesday night, even if it's in my hotel room or a restaurant or a bar.
And probably you'll be hoping that the other series goes to 3 as well, so you can find a place the next night to watch it. Like we said, those game times will be different, won't they? That'll be a 4:30 tip-off on Tuesday night, but I know you'll be watching it, and I'm glad to hear you'll be cheering on the Wildcats in that game 3 as well, because that's always pleasing.
Absolutely. So. I mean, the Wildcats are the team out of the 4 remaining teams. The Wildcats are probably the Hawks.
Yeah.
Wildcats or Hawks, I want to see in it, right?
Yeah. Pleased to hear. Well, let's get to a bit of an outro there. So, as I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube. We can be followed on X at Throwback Hoops, Instagram, throwback.hoops, and email address throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in. The numbers sort of keep going up. Still keep getting great feedback. So we love doing this each week and bringing this show to everyone there. We mentioned Patreon. If anyone wants to pledge a few dollars to help with the support, production, all the expenses, services associated with this, we'd appreciate it. And yeah, we've got some big guests coming up, Woods. I know it'll be you and I again next week, but we're working on getting some big names. But yeah, any final thoughts to finish us off today?
No, as we approach the end of the NBL season, everyone tune in and enjoy it. It's going to be an exciting semifinals that are about to complete and a finals series.
Absolutely. Well, safe travels to Perth, Woods. Looking forward to doing this again with you in a week. And yeah, big peace out from the Throwback Hoops group.
Peace out, everyone.